Hello, welcome to the show.
The Viking duck. Yes, Majid, I still have my Viking duck. He does more coding than I do.
Welcome to the show. Sorry we're running a bit late there.
Yes. Simon was tardy.
Me? Wasn't me.
Yes, it was.
No, never me. Yeah. Welcome to the show.
First question.
Any plans? Yes. I mean, if you want to, yeah, we can complete that. So we were actually starting on a backend server implementation. In fact, we did Flutter London meetup yesterday, and one of the questions someone asked me was, "How do I do a backend in Dart?" I'm like, "You go check out the show." Like we did all this stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe we should finish that off. That'd be interesting.
Your camera's a little blurry, by the way.
My camera.
Yep.
Maybe that's just. Oh no,
it's not terrible, but anyhow.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know. That usually does it.
Hang on.
Anyway.
Did that work?
For a moment.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, we have news in the world of Google, which is Gemini 1.5 API is out.
Yay.
So
we
that should be fun.
I downloaded the Gemma model recently. I want to give that a go on just some on-device stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, two different directions there. Huge model, mobile model.
Exactly. Even the 2B model is like 4 gigabytes, right? Like I don't. It's not mobile in that aspect. It's not like 150 million tokens, right, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll come back to that later.
Yeah, it's going to be an F16 at that point. Anyway.
Let's crack on with everything else that we need to do.
Be nice, be decent, don't be stupid. Don't post anything that is rude or offensive. Don't advertise or promote yourself. We all know you need a job. Don't spam the same question repeatedly. This is the one we really do get. And again, if you get impatient and ask your question a second time, it goes to the bottom of the list. So we do keep track. Sometimes we have as many as 15 questions in the queue, and questions take roughly 5 minutes apiece. It could be a while. Be patient. Harassment of any kind, not tolerated. Bigotry, incels, racism, misogyny, all that nonsense. You'll not only be blocked from here, but we will share your name around everywhere else. The Reddit moderators, the Discord moderators, your mother-in-law. So, and lastly, have a good time.
Have a good time, indeed. Have a good time. We've got a few guests on with us today, so I guess we'll do the introductions. Yeah, my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO at Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Scott.
My name is Scott Stahl, Flutter Community Leader, organizer of GDG Cleveland. That is a UK spelling of organizer, by the way.
Best one.
Yeah. Anyhow, what was I saying? I don't know. Organizer GDG Cleveland, and I write code under Good Dog Apps and do a bunch of other stuff you don't care about, except we rescue pit bulls. You should care about that.
And Randall, welcome to the stage.
Randall Schwartz, Dart and Flutter Google Developer Expert, one of 10 in the United States. Very happy to have that special role, which means mostly I get to answer a lot of your questions every day in the Discord, the Reddit, the Stack Overflow, the Slacks, every place that I can see questions. I try to answer them as I have time and knowledge permitting. And on this show, I am the question magician, which means that I am the one watching the live chat for questions, and you mark your question by putting Q: in front of it. When you do that, then we know that it's for us and not just for a chat amongst yourselves, which happens a lot. And be patient, as Scott said, because sometimes we do get 10 and 12, 15 questions, and so it'll take a while. But trust me, if it said Q: in front of it, we have it in our queue. Don't worry about that.
It would be nice if we had some kind of system where everybody could see the queue.
Yeah. Maybe someday.
By the way, Raf, I just sent you a message on FSG. Get your butt in here.
Cool.
It's been a long time. And we also have Danielle. Danielle, welcome to the stage.
We do. Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle, and I am the organizer of a group called the Flutteristas. We are a group of Flutter enthusiasts who happen to also be, female and or non-binary. And so if you meet those qualifications, you should fill out the link but hit me up and I'll make sure you get fast-tracked through. And that's good. I'm also, in my day job, I'm the Flutter tech lead for a company called Ardley. And so I lead a small team of Flutter engineers that way. And so it's pretty cool. And I do want to point out the fact there was one time a couple weeks ago where we did miss a question, and we realized it, and we got the guy back up on there. So if somehow we do miss it, let us know. But that doesn't. I've been doing this show for years now, and I think that's the only time I've seen it happen. So
Also, be careful.
And Danielle pointed it out.
Don't put a URL in your question. Any URLs are automatically blocked from us, so we do not even see those.
Yeah.
We don't even know you posted it.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
So
don't do that.
So just on that point, if we want to share code, go to GitHub and go to gists on GitHub, and you can post your code in a gist, and you send the hash from the gist in the chat with your username, and then we just bring it straight up.
And that works amazingly well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It does work amazingly well.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. And we have another guest with us.
Yes.
Raz.
Long
Been a long
time no
time.
see.
Raz
looks like a new person, but no, actually, he used to have a little bit of fuzz right here. And apparently he's been hitting it with nitrogen. So the nitrogen has caused the beard to really grow and, like corn.
If you have any questions about hair growing, let me know.
Can you help me get it to grow in brown? It used to.
And that's tough. That's tough.
Raz, feel free to introduce yourself, please.
Sure. So I'm part of the community since the beginning.
Long time.
Yeah, it was a long time.
I'm a tech lead. I have a few projects in Flutter, and I also held some Flutter courses for developers here in our universities in Romania.
Yes, you're Romanian as well. Yes,
yeah.
So, talking about questions, as we said, get the questions in the queue. Make sure we put a queue in front of them, and we can dig them out.
Just to free up some screen room, I'm going to step behind the scenes for a little while, but I'm still here, I'm listening, I'm paying attention.
If any of you miss him, just mention RiverPod. He'll be right back on screen.
Right.
I don't think my mentioning there's enough to get him back on, but it could be. It's that simple sometimes.
Mike Rydstrom, join Raf. Get in here.
Yes, indeed.
We don't have anything particular planned today, right? As far as I know. So
no, I think Raz had some interesting things around custom things. Was it custom multi-child layouts? A few other things that we could talk about later on and do some live coding. We could also talk briefly around the shopping app as well. See what we can do around that.
Get in
but
here.
That's for
John. Get in here. John, get in here.
Yeah.
That wasn't what he had for 3 times.
But still. What else? So has anyone seen what's been happening in the Flutter space recently? I don't think I've seen anything. I've just been so busy this last week. I've had blinders on. So
nothing much that I've seen.
I saw some interesting conversation this morning that Randall had weighed in on about the if using pattern matching in an if statement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something that's a lot of. Yeah, exactly. I've not that. Yeah, and that was pretty cool to see that.
I've been using quite a lot in Dart code where I want to do a null check, because it means that you cache the local variable, so you don't have the problem with getter, like the whole problem with a getter returning back a different value. And then there's also you can also do it as a type check. So if you've got something that might be like a base type and subtypes and so on, you can super types, then you can Yeah, like do a type check at the same time because it's a pattern match.
I like that a
That's
lot.
cool.
That's really pretty cool. I've not used it yet. I need to. And even though he's not here, thank you, Randall, for showing that off. Like, you weren't the one that asked the original question, but jumping in with it, that was with an example on X. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Raf pointed out something else new in the world of Flutter. The Flutter and Friends YouTube channel is still posting the finished talks. Now, at the time of the event, what they did was they posted the entire 8 hours in one go. They have since been chopping it up into individual talks and posting them as they go. But that makes it a little bit easier, but you can watch the whole conference. You could do that. You could watch me try to follow Felix. I hate it when the chat jumps just before I click.
You found the one?
Hmm?
Were you bringing something up? Sorry.
No, I wouldn't. No, I went to click on something else, and the screen jumped.
Right. I mean, we could just honestly, I've got nothing really to speak about. I'm just taking a look around and answering a couple of questions there. But I think we could just dive straight into answering questions, and then we can get. The sooner we do that, the sooner we can get to coding. Right? Like that's the fun bit. Let's see what we got. Should I bring up the first questions here? I know. Let's have a look. Charles says, do you have any suggestions for libs or libraries for video streaming from Python to Flutter for Linux, ARM64, Raspbian, most libs not for Linux?
Wow.
He's got a follow-up point right after that. That's in there.
I have an object detection implementation in Python. I'd like to stream it to Flutter. Everything is running on Raspberry Pi with camera.
Where's Roman when we need him?
Well, you're right. Your Raspberry Pi is capturing a video stream, and that video that from the device, and that can be streamed. Like if you've got a Python library already doing that, that can stream it out. It can just do a local RTMP stream, right? There's plenty of like Linux stuff that works on Raspberry to do that. Like that's very commonplace. And then you can literally just listen to that stream in Flutter app, RTSP, RTMP, /
RTMP protocol,
whatever your IP address for your local thing is, and then away it goes. You'll start getting the video stream come through. It should be pretty straightforward. From Python, yeah. So I think the problem here, if you're looking around for this, Charles, you're trying to say video streaming from Python to Flutter. That's not what you're trying to achieve here. It's just video streaming from Python, right? Even that, just video streaming from Linux. You don't even care about Python, really. I mean, your object detection, is that happening on device or in Flutter? So you just wanting the output of your object detection, like maybe you've put square boxes over stuff inside the picture frame and stuff like that. If that's something you're doing in Python, obviously it has to encode the result as a stream, and there would have to be a Python library at that point, right? But there's no reason why it can't just do that. I think you're probably looking for the wrong terminology. So you want to be looking for RTP, which is real-time protocol, RTMP, which is real-time media protocol, I think it's media protocol, and RTSP, which is the real-time secure protocol, which is like the SSL version of MP, if I remember rightly. It's been a while. But yeah, they're all, just go find the Wikipedia page and you can read up about it. But basically, there's plenty of libraries out there that do that.
Now, you notice Simon is able to pull this off the top of his head regarding Python. That's because we upgraded from Simon 1.0 to Gemini 1.5, running him in the background.
Yeah, I'm not ready here.
And now he's able to do Python and Flutter.
Right. I haven't done Python in a long time.
Okay.
You go on. What were you going to say?
I thought we were about done with this. I was just going to point out that in the comments, they did mention something that did happen in the Flutter world this week that's a big deal, which is Shorebird 1.0.
Oh yes,
Yes.
yeah, definitely. Yes, that has been. I still haven't tried it out yet. To
I
my
haven't
shame.
either.
To my shame.
Yeah.
It's like one of those
But
things
yeah,
where you had to
Eric's
find the. Go on, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying Eric's really excited about it. When he posted to the Shorebird Discord, there were lots of exclamation points and like fireworks. And
I mean, sure. I mean, I would be too if it was spent that a long time building these things, right? You're like, finally, we've released version 1. So anyway, all right. Let's see what else we got on the list then. I guess hopefully, Charles, that helps you put you in the right direction.
fingers crossed. I
Flutter
have
with
made
Ramen.
an app in. Oh yeah, now this one I did take a look at this
Hey,
earlier.
hey.
Raman, I think I've already got your answer here.
Read it off. Sorry, what?
It's a two-parter actually. There's another part. I have made an app in Flutter Tizen, which for those who don't know, that is a watch. I believe it's from Samsung.
Samsung.
It's the OS that runs the watch on older Samsung before they became really compatible, or more so compatible, I believe.
I think it's also their television operating system too.
Possibly. But yeah, it's a Tizen operating system, and there is a Flutter package for it. It says, I've made an app in Flutter Tizen, but it only supports above the version of Tizen 6.0. I want to build the application for lower version of Tizen. How can I do that? It supports web, where we can build the web in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but I do know the Flutter engine does this when I build it for web, but I'm getting problems there. That's really not entirely within Flutter's control, unfortunately, the fact that it can't target anything lower than Tizen 6. And that is a completely different operating system. It's exactly like trying to say, can we make changes in Linux to support an earlier version of Linux? I don't think that's within anybody's control here, Simon, unless you've got something you can pull out of thin air.
No. I was just looking at the Flutter Tizen stuff and just seeing if it's officially like a Samsung thing or.
Yeah, Tizen's officially a Samsung thing.
Yeah.
Tizen's 4 years
But I
old.
think the plugin is also Samsung.
But
Samsung.
this is on there. Yeah, but Flutter Tizen updated 5 days ago, so it's a recently changing. That's got Flutter embedded for Tizen, engine for Tizen. It's literally made for output for Tizen, which is predominantly great. Like that is exactly what a custom engine output is for. Supports Tizen 5.5 on Galaxy Watch and Tizen 6 on smart TVs and 5.5 on Raspberry Pi. So
it supports Raspberry Pi as well. That's an interesting thought.
IoT Raspberry Pi 3/4 Tizen 5.5 or later can run it. Apparently that's on their website. I'll pop the link in the chat for anyone that's not sure what the official page is.
So apparently, Raman, I guess you're looking to try to support televisions below 6.0, but again, you'd have to talk to Samsung about that.
Well, there is actually a link in their README which explains it. I suspect it's because you can't do that. They would make it work down to the minimum they possibly can.
Yeah.
And I suspect it's probably because the older devices that are running less than version 6 aren't capable of running Flutter in that way. Right. So I honestly, I'd say work with a more recent device. I mean, I'm looking at this TV SDK. What version 5.5 is 2020? Version 6 is 2021. So, I mean, that gives you the sort of standards. The other thing I'd say about that is that for the web stuff is that should work just fine. I'd suggest you try the different renderers. There's a Canvas kit renderer and a HTML renderer. See which one works best on Tizen. Let me pop up this page on just so people are aware. See if I can share this.
Oh, I forgot Raf's in Japan now. I was thinking he was still in London.
No. So, here we are, web renderers. So when you build, you can specify which web web renderer you want to use. And you might get a different output that is more compatible. I'll put the link in the chat for this documentation. You might get an output that's more compatible for the Tizen device.
And Raman did confirm
it's without. Sorry,
Raman did confirm it's television.
Okay.
I'd say the problem here is you're saying it's giving you problems. Well, what problems?
Yeah,
that's what I'd say, right? Like it can't speak to it since we've never done it, and if there's no specific output you're getting, then what can we suggest, right? So, but the fact is that the Flutter library is built for version 6 and above, and they're obviously doing that for a reason. So I suspect you're not going to get it working for previous. And since it's a custom Flutter engine, I wouldn't suggest you make any modifications or try and change it or do anything with it. So
yeah,
you're out of luck, basically. I mean, you can if you go learn C++, go the hard route. Yeah, sure, why not? Go for it.
And commit to a horrible time of updates. Going forward, as Flutter moves on.
I mean, they go introduce Impeller, and then Tizen's going to have to make sure it's supported and working with Impeller at some point. You don't want to be in that boat. So the other thing I'd mention just briefly is that maybe you want to try checking out earlier tagged versions of the repository. Maybe an earlier version supporting an earlier version of Tizen. That's another thing. So maybe an earlier version of Flutter Tizen would support an earlier version of Tizen TV.
But okay, those are completely separate things, Raman. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and Flutter, correct, but those are not Tizen operating system.
Flutter does compile the code into that, and I'm copy and pasting the code into bundled version, but facing the issue there. As in what?
Basically, it sounds like he's trying to cheat his way around it by compiling for HTML and then sticking it in there somehow.
I don't know.
Is that right, Raman?
The TV does have a browser. I've not tried to run Flutter code in mine.
I mean, yeah, you might as well just host your compiled Flutter code, right? At that point.
Raf, you're saying it's too late for you to come on the show, but it's not too late for you to make those comments. Get in here. And by the way, I got this cool new Flutter shirt from the team. They just sent it to me. It's got these lines that rock back and forth as I move in my chair, if you notice.
So apparently, I'm just looking at the Tizen stuff a little bit more. It was about security concerns with the older versions. That the reason why you can't run Flutter on those older versions or something. So, yeah, they're probably not going to be supporting it, put it that way. Right, moving on. Should we move on? Let's move on.
Yep.
Next question.
Would you currently use JNI FFI Gen or method channels for native platform communication? Nice question. Very advanced question. Sorry to you beginners who don't even understand what a lot of those acronyms mean. They're talking about, do you want to use a foreign function interface type setup or old school method channels for communication with native platforms?
Yeah. So I prefer FFI. So JNI FFI over method channels. One, you don't have to serialize. You've got direct communication. Two, that reduces overhead and so on. And it's more direct. Just there is obviously the complexity that it is, generally speaking, more complicated, right? But once you've got your interfaces in place and you've got a mechanism in place to use FFI, it generally is more practical. The limitation, to be clear, the limitation with JNI is you're doing Java, right? That's only supports Android. If you're using FFI, then you need to do things for each implementation of each interface in Dart, which you don't get to use on the native code. So, yeah, it's not suitable for all options, right? If you're doing a plugin that you need all platforms, I'd still be using platform channels. But for particular use cases, JNI would be better, or FFI, should I say?
I'm a little confused about this one. Vinay, you might need to use Gemini to translate this or something, because it's not quite making sense to me. In a Flutter isolate, I'm sure. I've created a subthread, how to send some information in running thread.
Yes.
I think that's talking about how to send information from the subthread to the main thread, but I'm not exactly sure.
So if you want to if you want to communicate back and forth to an isolate, you use ports. So you have a thing called a send port and a receive port. However, this is absolutely crazy because you create a send port and it gets a receive port, right? Automatically, they're tied together. It's like a pipe. And then what you do is you send the send port over the normal platform channel at the beginning to the over the isolate start parameters to the new isolate. Then you can then send information back, and then that creates a send port and sends it back to the isolate to create a receive port. So there's now a two-way communication that can take place. It's not simple. There's packages out there that simplify all this for you. Use those.
Yeah.
There's
when Simon says use the package because it's too complicated, you know you're in trouble.
Raz,
all right.
Have you ever tried to? Raz, have you ever tried using isolates like that and doing all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah. I've been trying to move the whole state management on a different isolate.
Wait, state management of the isolates?
Yeah, so we had big data that we had to parse, and we were trying to see, would it be more performant if we move everything and just send the state over? The problem was that the issue initially was that that was not feasible because object would have been copied. So you would have memory for your background isolate and then main isolate, and then when you would have, they would be copied. So it defeats the purpose. But then they allowed you to keep the same version if they were constant values. So the object would point to the same data in memory, and then it made sense. But in the end, we didn't use it because the performance boost was not.
I'm sitting here thinking the performance would definitely be affected because you've got your main isolate running in normal time, and then you've got your sub isolate, your new isolate, running in daylight savings time. So it's very difficult to have the two of them work together. And I'm waiting for Randall to pop in here with his brain on fire. Randall's favorite thing in the whole world is daylight savings time. All right. We can see him backstage. Surprised he's not waving a torch at me. All right. This is time to remind you all that we do not work for Google. The number of people on this stream who work for Google is 0. Randall does not work for Google either. So when we get a question like this, when will Impeller be ready for production apps? You're going to have to ask somebody who works for Google.
I'm going to say also the Google aren't going to answer that. It's ready when it's ready. Like you said it right now, like you go build a production app right now with Impeller on iOS. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
By the way, I just want to put it out there. I have a 25-minute hard stop. So I've got until the top of the hour.
All right. Questions.
I want to put out, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
All I was going to say is I'm not logged in on my Mac with the permission, so I can't click anything. But at past, Callan made a comment I absolutely love seeing. It was Majid book chapter 3 was his answer to something, and I think that's just I love seeing that. So thank you again, Majid, for putting such a great resource out there that now people are quoting it to get stuff going.
Absolutely.
I would get the book, but I lent it to a friend, so you know.
I don't have my
got it on Kindle, which I should get the paper copy too. I think I've got credit for it.
I will for sure before I see him next time, so he can autograph it for me.
There you go. At some point I'll get to Europe again soon. All right. This is a really, really easy question to answer. For state management, do you recommend Riverpod? Why do you choose Riverpod over Block? In 2 words, personal preference.
Yeah.
They're both fantastic. If you're accustomed to a Redux style approach, then you're probably going to like Block better.
And again, take a look at what you're doing and how things are and how complicated you need to make things at times too. So,
And is there one that allows you to get it out the door faster than the other?
Yeah. And what, what are the people you're going to be working with? What do they have? I mean, there's lots of reasons for it. And I'm a huge still supporter of the Matt Carroll school of thought that in most cases, you don't even need that kind of complication. You've got stuff, you can do stuff a little better. In my project at work that I've architected or continued architecting, on that one, we have basically in our router, when we create stuff, I create little presenters that will that handle the business logic, and they're specific to the task at hand, and they've got access to whatever they need from state. And so I'm just injecting those into wherever it goes. So there are lots of ways to do it. And RiverPod is, a really smart package written by a really smart guy who knows a lot of good stuff. And so you can't go wrong with, with learning how to use something like that. But, if you're trying to get a project done, whatever helps you get it done is where you ought to be probably.
Now, Simon showed me something a long time ago about sticking things, injecting them into the app state, and it's stateful, and basically being able to access everything through context. I kind of prefer it. That's just so straightforward. The only problem with it is if you need a lot of stuff, then your app state starts looking like a God class. But
There's lots of ways of doing it, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying there's lots of ways of doing that kind of thing, right? Like the point here is not necessarily sticking the app state, but actually separate it, just having a way of accessing it further down the tree, right?
Yeah.
So
and there was an interesting conversation that happened last week when I was on my cruise that I was involved in that, where I said some of the things I didn't like about Provider, and it started a conversation that made me realize that, well, gee, some of the concepts I hold dear with my software engineering object-oriented stuff is not necessarily some of the most important parts of that. So, discussing it even sometimes can be very helpful in figuring things out. It didn't change my mind on
discussing Flutter on a cruise. Did I miss a cruise somewhere?
I was on a cruise, and this was on X, on Twitter, but I was involved in it. Yeah. I'm with you there, Scott. I really am. But it was interesting once again, because discussions on this can also help you out in learning in your journey as to what's going on. Because if you understand why certain things are better than certain other things, that can be a really useful thing to help you next time when you're thinking about it and trying to figure out what to use. Because
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cruise by solar eclipse. So I had a pretty eventful last week. The last.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we got lucky. We live in the path of totality, so we got a full 4 minutes of blocked sun, and I had to walk 10 feet out my front door to see it.
I had to drive a bunch of hours, but I saw it too.
Yeah. Okay, another week, how do I get my app to play videos offline question.
Okay.
Do we have a banner with the answer to this on it?
By the way, Raz, feel free to drop in on any answers like
yes, please.
Great.
I'm going to make a banner for this one right next to the banner of why not GetX.
Do you want to read it?
Sure.
Probably not. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Raz.
Sorry. Can you suggest any package and something to achieve offline download and play app only within an app, like YouTube offline play video feature?
You don't need a package. Download the video, play it with video player.
That's why it fits on a banner.
I think there's like this thing, as it's interesting, right? There's a couple of things here, right? I'm just thinking about this. As a developer, you do go through like the intermediate area of making things more complicated than it needs to be, right? Or like that kind of thing. There's also an aspect of it as a beginner, you don't know what you're to search for, or you think it's more complicated than it actually is as well. So there's that kind of like, yeah, just download the data, download the file, and use the video player plugin to play it, right? Like that's YouTube literally does that. It downloads the video and it's the app's local storage, and when you hit the play button, it plays it.
And I mean, just to be clear, if you think about it from common sense standpoint, if you're not able to download anything else, then it has to have already been on the device. If it has to already be on the device, then it's as simple as what we just said.
Yeah.
And going along with what you said about complicating stuff, I've said it on here before, but I'll say it again. Just about any time I've ever thought I was really clever solving a problem, when I looked at it months later, I was not that clever. I don't do this. I could have done better.
There's yeah. There's a good point, Raf. Raf did say
that's exactly what I was about to
menus.
say. Yeah, I was trying to say that while I was muted.
Yeah. The downloading on the main isolate, even a video file, shouldn't block the main isolate completely. It will slow it down though. But that's the same with anything that any more sort of any amount of work you put on, is going to have that impact. But yeah, it's not going to synchronously download, right? So it downloads in blocks, and that's where the coroutine should kick in. There's another thing that you get with downloads that does make it more complicated. And I think this is something that is not spoken about enough, and that is the downloading in the background, uploading in the background, things like that. That is actually a really complex problem, especially on mobile. So that's something else you'll have to contend with. But I think release your first version first. That actually means you can download it, and then if downloads stop get cut off early, or you got problems, then you can think about background downloading. What's this? Yes, as I said, just download it. So your application has data that's only it can see. That no user on the device can see it from outside of the application.
Right.
Go look at
that's your security
path provider, the package. That's it. It literally explains it in there.
Mm-hmm. This is a really interesting one. I'm hoping I can read it without sneezing. And again, hey, if that's for us, hey, Gonza, if that is for us, you need to put a Q there. Otherwise, we think you're asking a question to somebody else in the chat. That's why we tell you to use a Q, folks, because people are asking each other questions in the chat. And if we don't see a Q, we think that you're talking to each other.
It doesn't get queued.
So it's the only way we know. And yeah, if there's no Q, it doesn't end up in the queue. British humor. Oxymoron. Okay. Except for Monty Python, of course. Or Benny Hill. Now I'm dating myself. I was working on a chat app with Discord-like navigation, and I used stack and animation controller to achieve this. Any idea on how to deep link the navigation linking to a specific conversation?
This is interesting because so this is
yeah.
I just no. I mean, it's interesting because I've seen this quite a few times. Right. I mean, you want to, let's say you've got 5 like workspace open. You've got a chat in one of those. And you receive a push notification for one of these things. What you actually need to do is have your app switch to that workspace when they tap on the notification, and then deep link into it. And that's what you do. So you're talking about deep linking here, right? Sorry, Raf, I can hear your keyboard coming through, so I just muted you. Feel free to unmute in a second. I use Slack. He says use Stack and animation control to achieve this. Yes. So you get your deep link. You then call a method to animate to perform your stack animation to the other workspace. And then once that's finished, you get a future back. Once it's finished, you then complete the deep link navigation inside that section of your app, and you can just keep going, right? So if you need to make a pop-up and then you need to select something from a list or whatever, you can just do it. It's that simple.
This is interesting because this is not the kind of question we get all the time.
Deep linking is actually really a difficult problem. It's one of the reasons why I think it was the last release of the Flutter package. They added deep linking in was it DevTools, right? So you can actually experiment and test your deep linking built into the Dart DevTools. So check that out. That'll really help you to iterate and test your deep linking.
Cool. All right. Got two-parter on this. What makes a senior engineer, and when does a person transition into one? And what is the difference with a lead Flutter dev? Well, I think the senior engineer, in my opinion, is number one, you have to understand the whole stack, but number two, you spend more time helping unblock people than writing your own code. And a lead, you spend all your time doing code reviews and helping people unblock code, and you never get to write your own code.
That's not hard and fast, obviously, Jeffrey. But
yeah. I'm joking for a lot of that, by the
way. Sorry, Daniel. Please, if you got
what
some
I was going to say is, to me, a senior Flutter developer is going to be able to get to pretty much wherever he needs to go with Flutter. I think to be a Flutter lead, you also have to what you have to lay on top of that is knowing how to interact with the rest of your environment. To architect things, how you're going to lay it out.
Seriously though, I was thinking that's part of senior.
But if we're a lead is got to be someone that's got to really have that overall that big picture from above for the whole project. Whereas a senior can work in any space they need to, but it's more at that point it's more than just the Flutter part. In my mind, to be a lead Flutter, with something you need to also be very good at understanding the consequences for the entire environment, not just what you're doing. And that's probably wishy-washier than I would have liked to have said with that, because it is you sort of know it. But
no, I'm thinking about this. Like I don't think there's any Jeffrey. I don't think there's any like hard and fast here. I can't think of any hard and fast cutoff points. I would say, because a senior developer to a smaller team would have a wider knowledge base than to a larger team, right? Like the role shuffles around in terms of what you consider a role. I think we talk about that as being a role, right? But I think as a developer, forget Flutter. As a developer, where do you sit? Beginner, intermediate, senior, advanced, expert, Superman, whatever, right? Like along this silly curve, where do you place yourself? And I think it's hard to place yourself on that curve, especially with imposter syndrome always being a thing. This never stops being a thing, right? So it's hard to reflect, right? And to see how you position yourself on this imaginary line compared to your peers, right? And the only way you get to do that is by talking to your peers and understanding. So I'd say go to meetup groups, go to other places, speak to people, and you learn if the people around you are more knowledgeable than you or less knowledgeable than you, and then absorb that knowledge and learn, and then you go up that ladder, right? And
it's amazing to me when I go out to meetup groups. It's amazing how many people only understand basic coding, like from a boot camp. They were never taught design patterns. They were never taught REST API, except for the most basic in the world. They were never really taught a whole lot about databases, just basically like how to make some calls to an SQL database. And the other thing too is they never learned any frameworks. They've just been basically taught rudimentary coding, and that's it. They don't know the Flutter SDK. They don't know an Android SDK. They don't know a Gemini SDK or an API.
The biggest killer, I think, for a developer's career, is to stay at one company so long that you only know that one company's frameworks, tools, techniques, and everything else, right? If you're stuck at a company, you're doing one thing like that, you go spend your spare time learning other stuff yourself, right? Don't ever stagnate. That stagnation is the mind killer, right? Like that's the one that you're going to be stuck, and you'll be stuck in like this place over here, and everyone else is over there, right?
To
The
give you an
technology moves
idea,
forward.
sorry.
I was going to say
Sorry,
the
I thought
technology
there was
industry
an
moves,
opening, but there's not.
moves forward really, really quickly. So, like, you know, you have to stay ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say one other thing I would kind of say about that is, you know, to me, a lot of times you end up with a different sort of like like an electrician versus electrical engineer. You know, you end up with like, to a certain extent, like a nurse versus a doctor. You know, so when you're coming in, you learn how to do certain things, and you may learn how to do them really well. You know, if I have to get a shot, I want the nurse to give it to me, not the doctor. You know, because they do it all day, every day. But if I want someone to figure out what's wrong with me, I want the guy that's got the more training, with it. So,
I
I mean,
that.
it's just,
The more, well, there's a difference between more training and more practice.
exactly. And so that comes into play a little bit here. You can be really good at banging out, different page UIs, and still be pretty junior. Or, so a lot of that, and then you can be very senior at the concepts of computer engineering and not really know Flutter that well. And you're going to be able to muddle through stuff, but you're not going to be do as well. And so it's not like it's just one line that goes on there, and sometimes it depends on what the company that's hiring needs. Do they need someone that can help design how we're going to communicate and do things like that, or do they need someone that can make a pretty UI? Because in the case of Flutter, you're going to need both at different times.
There's some interesting things I'd also mention in that is, as a developer, you find there's an interest you might have in certain fields of development, like audio engineering, video engineering, images, data transfer, networking. Like software covers so much, and Flutter can be used with a lot of this stuff. Obviously, predominantly mobile apps is where it comes from a background, but that doesn't limit you. That doesn't limit you in its use. And same goes like doing server-side stuff. Like, there's tons of API work and interacting with the database and caching layers and communication, and there's a lot going on. And it's just like you can be an expert in some of these fundamental or one of these fundamental areas and say, I'm an audio engineer, right? I'm a mobile audio engineer. That's what I do. You want an expert in audio? Yeah, I'm your man. I know all the details about that. If that's what you're interested in, that's what you learn, then you can proceed with that career, right?
But then you work on a contract for about 3 weeks and you get them all set up and perfect with their app doing that. And then there's not a lot left for you to do. So they'll call you if they need you.
Well, there's that aspect of like maybe a generalization, but then there's also products like Spotify or DJ apps, for example, whatever else, right? That are just audio driven apps that require an engineer that knows all about audio, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and the other thing I would definitely say is there's not a, like, and we've said this, but to be very specific, what makes a senior versus a junior is whoever's writing the requirements, is the bottom line, and all of us that have been around, I'm sure, remember seeing 3-4 years ago someone that wanted a senior or a principal Flutter engineer with 10 years of Flutter experience,
Yeah.
And
we saw that 3 years after Flutter started.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And so at some point, you have to take a look and understand what are they really looking for, and whether it's worth you trying to go in or not when they don't, But I for sure saw people wanting, when Flutter 1.0 had been out for less than 2 years, wanting, 5+ years of experience in Flutter specifically, and so
and then that's, the HR people wrote the job description and not the actual team.
Right. And so once again, they're coming up with their own ideas of what's going to make senior. So we talked about the concept of when do you become a senior versus a junior, but if you're asking about from a pay standpoint, it's as soon as you can get it, you're senior at that point. And that's going to be, sometimes you might have to make cases for your own seniority there. And one of the differences between a senior and a junior Flutter engineer is going to be that they can defend the fact they're senior when you're senior.
See, and in my case, personally, I've been specializing mostly in UI. I'm trying to break out of that stereotype. Consider myself about intermediate. But then again, as Simon was saying, branching out into other things and other interests, I am hooked on this whole idea of AI and being able to use it for things. So I'm trying to focus on how can a business put it to use. I'm not looking at how to train it or how it works under the hood. I'm looking at how can I make it do things in apps and how can I make it do things in Flutter. But to tell you the truth, I haven't written a line of Dart in over a week. I am buried in learning Python and learning how to write Windows apps in Python so that I can turn around. And well, the thing is that the Python API for Gemini and for OpenAI is, OpenAI doesn't have a Flutter API as far as I know. And Gemini 1.0 has one, but I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with 1.5. So if I want to play with those, I've got to do it in Python.
No, I deny it. Replace your reality with my own. Right.
By the way, hey Gonza, don't do that. You got impatient. You asked your question a second time. We took you out of the top spot, which would have had you next, and we put you down at the bottom because that's what spamming is. Don't keep asking your same question again and again. All right. Richard. Leave it to Richard. Hey, Simon. Oh, I should have waited until Simon was drinking. Simon 2.0. Is it recommended to use an isolate for smooth play of audio files while the user manipulates the UI? And my first...
Is Simon 2.0, is that Gemini?
I think that hasn't been released yet. They're still on 1.5.
Okay.
Or is actually, wait, was Simon 1.0 Gemini 1.0, but Gemini 1.5 Simon 2.0? If this week was next week, last week, that would make last week this week.
All right, come on. What was the question? Is it recommended to use an isolate for smooth playback of audio files while the user manipulates the UI? Depends.
Yeah, my first thought is controlling the video.
So
that can be done.
Let me be clear. Your audio is being played by the operating system, right? That's already on a separate thread. You don't need to play your audio files on a separate thread. But it does depend on how you're playing them, right? So normally what you would do is you would say, I don't know what plugin you're using, or I can't really recommend without more information. So feel free, Richard, to dump that in the chat. However, normally what you'd say is play this audio file to like an audio player plugin. It sends the file path over to the operating system, right? To like Android or iOS or whatever. And then it will set up a player that plays it and will go read the file and actually play it. And you're just controlling it from Dart. The actual playback is all happening inside the operating system, straight to the sound card or the sound control chip and out to the speakers or whatever, right? That's all done for you. So there's no need for you to actually read the audio file in chunks and to do all that kind of stuff, right? If you're generating sound like synthesizer, then that's something different, right? Because now you're making buffers of audio data that's all happening on the CPU. And you may want to put that in an isolate. Sorry, so that that all that hard work of actually maybe mixing audio tracks together and doing all that's happening on a separate thread to your main thread, and that would make sense to do that because now that's CPU bound and very heavy, and then that can then be sent out as buffers of data, packets of data to the sound system to be played back on the speakers, right? But yeah, without a bit more information, it's a bit hard to give you a more direct answer than that, really. Hopefully explaining how it works gives you a better idea about what to choose. I don't, to be clear, I do not recommend isolates in any way, shape or form for most people. Very limited use cases for them. Even if you need to do with isolates, it's isolate.run, and it's just like running a future, but in a separate thread, and then you get the result back and you're done. Right? Trying to treat isolates. So someone said, there's someone, sorry, Danielle, did you have to run?
I do have to run.
I have to run. Yeah, now actually.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And
I'd like to tackle one real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Danielle.
I was just going to say, I'll see you all next week. I was on vacation last week and then Monday for the eclipse. So I've got to get back to the day job. So thank you all. And I'll see you next week.
All right. See you soon.
Have fun in the salt mines.
Thanks.
All right. I want to skip to one real quick because I'm going to have to get going as well.
Sorry. That on that. What was the last question? Shit.
We were talking about running audio on a separate isolate.
Also,
Yeah,
I don't think that is actually possible because platform code, platform channels run on main isolate. So
You can
I don't
communicate
think...
you can communicate with platform channels on background isolates now.
Okay.
So I appreciate that. No, that is that by default that's what happens, but you can actually have isolates communicate with plugins now in the background.
If you start a service, for example, on Android, and then attach the plugins, okay.
You can so there's a whole the new plugin was the Android 2.0 plugin system, whatever it was, started that trend of creating instances of plugins rather than having a singleton plugin architecture. And with that, there's now when you spin up a Flutter engine, it can attach all the plugins to the background isolate. So you can do that now.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm gonna get
digressions.
Get this moving here. Oh, go ahead. So I'm just trying to get to the next question.
Oh, that was it. But also talking about playing audio in the background briefly was if you said about playing audio on an isolate, the questioner, I forgot, it was Richard, wasn't it? You would have to do that if you wanted background audio, right? Because you need once the activity shuts down on Android, once that goes away, you want to continue playing your audio, then you need to have your Dart code communicating with the audio playback system. And you can actually do that on a background isolate. So, yeah.
Which is probably what my Android Auto is doing every single time I start up, and then it starts playing Spotify without me telling it to, even if Spotify was already closed. I got to talk to somebody about that. All right. One I want to touch on before I go. I take it it's a misconception, but is there a tentative recommendation for the max number of packages for a Flutter app? There is a recommendation for the maximum number of packages, and in all seriousness, it is the lowest number you can get away with. The reason for that is every single time you include a package in your app, you are risking their maintenance falling behind and it affecting your app. You want to be dependent on other people as little as possible. And this is one of the biggest reasons we tell people not GetX. Because GetX, your whole app becomes dependent on GetX. But for anything, really, you don't want this huge, and I see companies do this with this huge line of dependencies. That's great if you're maintaining them. If you're not maintaining them, now you are at the mercy of a bus driver who runs over the person who is maintaining your package, and they were the only one who was the owner of the repo. So now nobody owns the repo.
I'm going to take a counterpoint on that, which is that, you don't want to depend on packages unnecessarily, but we are protected somewhat in the Flutter and Dart universe because once it's published to pub, it doesn't go away. And it's published completely as source code, so I can reconstruct the thing that I'm using. So it's not like we're counting on a third party to stay in business just so we can keep using their package. So there is some protection.
There's been some times when this has actually happened where a package has died and then another package comes along, which is a fork of the original because it's a permissive license that allows that, Apache 2, MIT, whatever.
And another one that this happened with, the package didn't even die, was Video Player and Chewy.
It happens quite a lot, that you get something that forks off from an original. The problem we also want to make sure that in the community, and I want to say this again, is that we don't have too many. Don't fork for the sake of forking. Don't fork because your PR was not merged, right? Like that's your particular one use case, right? That's unique to your app. So don't publish that as a package. Sure, have it as a repo, link to it in the issue ticket, but you don't have to publish it to pub.dev, right? Otherwise, pub.dev just get filled up of duplicate package with one PR difference from each other, and then the original authors already pulled those into the new package, and now we just have pub strewn with like a bunch of useless packages, right? So,
and because we're completely independent from Google, I can say that if you fork just because your PR wasn't accepted, it makes you look butthurt. Okay. And a million Flutter developers are going to see you look butthurt, and you don't want to have that embarrassment, because then you'll be known as that person. All right. And with that, actually, I'm going to have to take off.
Hey, Scott, thanks for stopping by.
See
you next week.
Glad to pop in. Thank you for being here, Raz. Great to see you again. Come around more often. Congratulations on finally being able to grow a rear beard. All right.
Thank you.
And I'm out of here. Y'all take care.
Bye, Scott. Now it's test 3. Now I get to drive the questions for a little while. There's not too many more left, though, which is nice. So here we have the question that did get moved down in the queue. What companies do you recommend that work with Flutter? For example, in the future, I would like to work at VGG. Wouldn't a lot of people like to work at VGG, but not everybody gets selected. Sorry.
I think it's meant to be VGV.
VGV.
I mean, it could be VGV. GG is like the South American one, because I know they started up some South American stuff. So I don't know. But, yeah, very good ventures. VGV is well known.
I applied there, did not even get a second round interview. So whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty good standards.
So I mean, that work with Flutter. I mean, there's just I don't know if I'd recommend any. Just
go to the jobs list.
Tons. I mean, there's loads. Just any of them.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we can say.
I mean, there's tons. Like literally, you can go to the agency list on the agency. What's it called? There's a list on the Flutter website of companies that do Flutter stuff. Just go through the list, find someone that's near you, a company that you heard one.
Start one. Start your own company for that. Yeah. Have an idea and produce it. Definitely. Next question. Let's just stop that one. Is there any package to compile and run the Dart code within a Flutter application? For example, making a Learn Dart app. I think this exactly describes DartPad, which already exists. So I'm not sure that maybe you don't know about DartPad. I would hope you would. Or do you see something else in this, Simon?
No, that does give features to run online on website. Yes, DartPad. Yes, and that's open source.
Yep. You can run your own instance of it and do whatever you want to with it. It's all open source. And this one wasn't marked, but I put a pretend mark in front of it anyway. I presume it wasn't for people in the chat room. I presume it was for us. How do I access the fitness data like step count and heart rate from the Apple Watch for the iOS app in Flutter? Is there any plugin for that in Flutter? Yes. I don't know. That would require a searching of this thing called Pub.
I shall show you how to do this thing. This magical
so we don't
thing
have
that people do.
You won't have to wait for a Wednesday in order to figure out the answer to this question.
So we go health. Health Kit Reporter helps you write and read data from Health Kit via Health Kit framework. The reason why I know it's health, right? But why it's called health is that actually Health Kit is wrapper around Health Kit on iOS and Google Fit Health Connect on Android. Right? Just pick one that like the look of it's got the most likes or it's got the most recently changed, right? It tells you what you can all do. What was the question? You want to get the step count? Well, I'm sure that's called health data. Access and total step counts. Get step count in it. There you go.
Yeah.
And all the rest. Anyway, but so follow the guide. Whatever the guide says, you read the guide first, then follow it. Let me be clear, because you get into some other funky ways if you don't read it all fully first. Get an idea about what you need to do. And then yeah, you should be able to just request authorization and then start reading whatever the data you want to do, and away you go. That simple.
Cool.
It looks like this is very well broken down here, like what data types you can get back. Is it what platforms it's supported by? So was it heart rate? That was the other one, wasn't it? Beats per minute. There you go. I think it was what it was requesting. So yeah, done.
Cool.
That's how you do it.
Cool deal.
So
All right, that was...
I obviously for that instance of iOS, I knew it was called HealthKit because the first thing I would go is look up that, like, what is the thing with iOS? How do you get with health information from an iOS watch? And then you then go look up that information on pub.dev so that you can go find a package that someone's made or make your own, which is always possible as well. And it just does the unique thing that you want it to do, right?
Yep. All right. That was the last question. So we can do live coding now, I guess.
Yeah. Let's do some live coding. We get to live coding a bit earlier than usual. This is nice.
Yeah. Not as many questions today. While you're getting set up for that, Simon, I want to say I'm very happy to have now a confirmed trip to Google I/O this year down in Mountain View, and NA Connect, which happens right after that. So I've got a GDE paid for trip. Finally, after all these years, I'm finally cashing in on those 3 letters after my name. But that's all booked, and so I'll be there from Monday through Friday of the week that it's all happening. So I'll be there in time for the community dinner and ahead of the I/O, and also all of I/O, and then all of NA Connect. So I hope to see many of you there, many of the people here on the channel, especially if you've been following this show for a while and you've seen me only in a virtual sense for all these years. Please come.
I don't even know.
I
don't even know if you're real, Randall.
Right. You're right. You've not seen me in person. You have not. This could be I could be a clever AI. Yes. So.
Real GPT.
Yeah. Just as if I'm simulating intelligence. It's really I have some emergent behavior.
The one time I want my system to work, it doesn't want to work. Isn't that nice?
Oh, what are we going to do the week of I/O? Are we going to skip the show that week, I guess?
No, do it from I/O.
It could, I guess. Well, are you going to be there? You're going to be there, right?
Hopefully.
Okay.
I still haven't booked any flights or hotels or...
Oh, that's getting close.
Yeah, I know.
It's only a month away, month and a week. Yep, definitely. Yeah. So and my hip is way better. I mean, you guys have been around for 6 months or so. You've heard me tell stories about how I had my hip replaced back in December. I'm actually seeing right after this show. I'm seeing the nurse who's going to sign off my home care. So that's it. I'm not getting any more direct care. It's all just me walking around as 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 steps a day to get practiced up. So yay.
So, what are we going to be live coding? That's the question.
Didn't you already say you wanted to continue the WoW project or whatever it was?
There is some WoW shopping stuff, but I think Raz had some questions around some multi-child widget stuff. I thought that might be interesting.
Yeah, so actually, I have a guess for you.
Your audio is breaking up really bad.
Say again. I think you're good now.
Am I?
No. Bluetooth fail.
Oh no.
That is.
Can we get closed captions on them?
I don't think it. Do you know it would be? Like, it would just come up saying
now?
garbled.
No,
better.
Stop torrenting. Turn off your torrents. If anybody ever does that anymore.
We can hear.
Okay, how about now? All good?
Yeah.
So
but we can hear your desk and stuff, so it might be just be gentle. Be gentle. Anyway, go on.
So I have a guest, and also I can share my screen real quick.
Oh yeah, sure.
What I'm trying to achieve here.
Feel free to send me a link to it as well.
Sure.
Do you want me to bring that up on screen, or shall I wait?
I can bring it on my side because I have the app running. Let me send you.
Okay.
Link also. Okay. Okay.
Right. Where are you sending it?
Sorry, on I said it on Slack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, do you want to bring up? You can bring it up on yourself on your side if you want to. Yeah.
Okay. So we have an image, and then on
yeah.
top of that image,
It's
I
on the screen
wanna.
now. There we go.
Okay. So I have this image, and then on top of that, those numbers, I want to create widgets that you can click on, so tap on, and then the problem is that when you do this, the coordinates get messed up because of the image fit. Right. So.
Right.
And what I did here, I used the custom multi-channel layout, set up the image, and then set up each box with a hotspot. And then here, when I do perform layout, I lay out first the image and position it. And then I have the coordinates where it starts and stop. X1, X1, Y1, and then X2, Y2. And then I position the layout and position the channel. Problem here is that when this gets bigger, the image fit will make the image center. Yeah, and
well, you can get so let's. I mean, if you want to edit on yours, since you're running it, we can talk about it and you can edit it if you want to. There might be a quick thing you can do here. So, are you running this right at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right now, if you put a size object at the beginning of your function, your perform layout function.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting all your desk now out.
Very noisy.
Okay.
Yeah. At the beginning of the function, add a local variable.
Okay. So that would be size.
Size, yeah. And call it, I don't know, image size.
Image size. So I have that value here, and this is the image size.
Yeah, but that's the actual image size.
The actual image size.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the. Yeah, we'll get there in a second. So where's that algorithm? It's gonna bug the hell out of me now. Yeah. So image size. Yeah, that's it. No value so far. If you don't have. You can not have it. You can not have an image then as well.
No, I should always have an image.
Right. So then the best thing to do is reject the path piece. You got has child path, right?
Yeah. So the path is basically the idea of the image.
Right. But what I'm trying to get at is we always need an image to do the rest of the layout. So you're always going to lay out that child and position.
Yes. Yes.
So the has child is pointless.
Okay. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So on the position child, on the layout child, the return value of the layout child function is the size.
Okay.
It should be, I think. Come on, click.
It is?
Yeah, come on, click on it. It is, I think. So yeah, now the constraints. So here's the thing, right? So basically, well, the problem right now, can you turn on debug borders on your app so people can see? You know the Flutter inspector.
Yeah.
And then so as it
so you want this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so as we can see in the background, well, it's hard to see, but that the image is in the background, right? So if you resize,
I can put a blue here to see it. Colors yellow. Okay.
Yeah. So if you make the image, if you make it wider, right? Yeah, there's the problem, right? So what's happening here is the image is in the middle, but what's also happening here is that it's not, you're not placing it in the center. The image is placing itself in the center. Yes, because you're saying stretch to fill. Right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing. You actually need to maintain the aspect ratio and put the widget where it needs to be on the screen and to be in the center.
Okay.
Right. So you've got two ways of doing this. So you can do the aspect ratio yourself, and you can do that in your layout code. And then you can then position it in the center. Then now you know the position, everything else, you then lay out the rest of the widgets related to that, which is probably the easiest way of doing this. So that's what we're going to do, right? So now you've got the image size. Sorry, go back. We need to give it the constraints. Sorry. So we need to work out the constraints that we're going to pass over. You've got size.width and size.height, and that's the problem. So we need to calculate a new width and height for the box constraints to be passed across. And we want to maintain the aspect ratio. And that's what we need to do before this. So there is actually an algorithm in Flutter that the image stuff uses. Can you hide the panel on the right?
Apply box fit, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. That's the one. Is that the one?
Yeah.
That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, but the thing is that this is used in the image algorithm to paint the image. So this gives you two sizes, so destination and source.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So perfect. So put your box fit that you're looking for, which is what contain.
Yep.
And then the input size is going to be, one of these is going to be the image size, and the other one's going to be the size. So you've got them named the same variable name. So line 117 needs to be renamed to image size, probably.
This image size?
Well, this dot image. Oh, this dot size. Yeah, just so input size is going to be this dot size, right? And then output size is going to be just size. And then the return value is going to be, sizes, whatever. Yeah, that'll do. What's it looking for? What's it want? A fitted size? Oh. Okay.
It's a different type. Sorry. Okay.
Do you want to? As I say, do you want to add some commas to the end there or something? Okay, I'll do. Actually, do you want to make the font bigger? Can you actually zoom in and hide the panel on the right? Because I think a lot of people on lower quality enhance. Yeah, enhance. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, big.
Okay.
We can't fit the whole screen in anymore.
All right. Oh. Yeah. Do you want to just add some training commas or something? So.
Let it wrap. Let it wrap. Let it wrap.
Right. So now that fitted sizes are getting out, you need to pass that size to your type 4. Right. So inside fitted sizes, it should have some various parameters in there.
So it's destination and source.
Yeah. So destination is what you're looking for.
Okay. So I use this where?
For your constraints, line 132.
Okay.
Right. So now we're going to get, you can actually get rid of the size out of layout child, I suspect. Because you've got tight constraints, right? And then position is the next one. So fitted sizes, does it give you a position as well? Sizes dot destination. Is there a dot left top? Isn't there? Top. It's a rectangle, isn't it?
So yeah, sizes is gonna have the source.
No, it doesn't. That's interesting. It doesn't actually give you the alignment. That's fine. Just do basically we just need to center it. So if you try this, do alignment, get rid of sizes. Alignment dot. No, get rid of sizes.
So that would be
capital A, alignment. Yeah.
Okay.
Constructor.
Dot center. You don't need the constructor. Yeah, and then you should be able to say along size. No, we're gonna have to do a rectangle. Sorry, delete that. There's another one. Dot within rectangle. Next, scroll down. I think it should be there. What's the one I'm looking for? No. Sorry, I meant in the list. That's right.
Correct.
Inscribe is what you're looking for.
Ah.
So you're there. You're right there, Az.
Yep.
You can look at your phone, are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. Again, ask questions, are you? Right. Anyway, so inscribe. So size is what we're trying to. Well, have a look. Have a look at the parameters of inscribe. I forget which way around they are.
So let's see. Okay. So size.
So if you have the image size, could you wrap the labels with an aspect ratio, maybe? Does that help?
No, because it's how they're being positioned, right? So,
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's another way. That is another way of doing it. So another way, I think the commenter was just suggesting there, if we took and wrapped the entire multi-child layout in a aspect ratio, well, that was based on the image aspect ratio, it would effectively make the same thing, and then we could put that in the center. So there's a couple of different ways of doing it. But since we're doing a custom layout, it's more efficient to do it in here. But I appreciate it. Also, this is interesting, right? So, Anyway, so what was the inscribe parameters? I didn't read that. Sorry, Raz. What did it say the parameters were? So returns a rectangle of a given size aligned with the given rectangle at the specified alignment. So 100, 100 size inscribed at 200, 200 rectangle. Top left would be 100, 100. This is what we're looking for. So size is our input size, right?
Okay. So that would be.
So this would be sizes.destination. And then the rectangle here would be offset.0. Capital O, offset.0. I was going to say, you might want to wrap, and then we can, offset.0, ampersand. So the and symbol. No dot. Yeah, and then the size. So this would be size, just size. Yeah. That would produce a rectangle.
That makes a rectangle. That's kind of cool. There's a lot of stuff in the protocol for drawing that a lot of people never noticed are there, and it's usually
what's it say? Yeah, because the output's a rectangle, so you need to on line 142. Line 142.
Yep.
No, line 142.
42. Okay.
Yeah. Point. Do a dot after the bracket. Top left. All right, so now that we've used the first one to work out the aspect ratio position, then based on the resulting size, we then position that child based on the resulting size within the widget, right? So this is going to basically position the image exactly where it was before. But instead of filling the screen and having the image draw in the center, now it's going to fit the image correctly and draw the image exactly. So if you run this and look at your output.
well been just a stack too, right?
Sorry?
This could have all just been a stack too, right?
Yes and no. So that's what we were just saying before. Like it already is, like it can be, we're talking about it being a stack. So yes, it already is a stack because of multi-child layout, right? But equally, there might be other reasons why you want to position these, right? Which is really the responsibility of the multi-child layout, not so the outside. I don't know. ways of handling. Anyway, make it wider. Make it wider. There's a big difference right now to what you had before. Do you see the little border? There's now a color border around the white image.
Yeah.
That is basically now saying that this is the outside. So before, that was on the edges of the screen, right? Meaning that the image was taken up the side of size. Now, you go back to your layout code and maybe zoom out a little bit so we can get a bit more in. You should be able to like wheel mouse scroll, shouldn't you, or something? Yeah, so now we want to take that rectangle from the align. So go save that. So align center inscribe, save that, the result of that into a variable. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, call it whatever you want. Perfect. And then if you scroll down.
Okay.
So now about your width ratio and height ratio. That's how you're positioning things, right?
Yes.
So this needs to be based off of the actual size coming out of that rectangle.
Okay.
So instead of this dot size, it's rectangle dot size. Right. Actually, do rectangle dot width, can't you? And rectangle dot height in this case. Save yourself an extra object creation. Right, and if you scroll down, the position of all of these. Let's keep going. Right, can we add another couple of commas in here so we can see what? Wonderful. So we lay out that child.
Yeah.
That's basically saying, just for those people that aren't clear about what we're doing, layout child is saying the width and height of what that is and how big we want it to be. In this case, we want to say exactly this size. So that's great. And then the position, if you scroll further down, X1 and Y1 in this case, that's great, but that needs to be offset. So if you go before 167, line 167, before offset, you can now do rect dot top left plus. No. Leave it in there. Leave it in there. I'm saying just at the very beginning, rect dot top left. Right. So now they're going to be so all the positions of all the labels are now going to be relating to the size of the image where it is in the destination, and then the offset is going to be based on where it's been sent and aligned. So if you save that now and run it. Our calculations are off, but it's interesting that it is like moved over. So go back to the code. The ratios are off. I think the way you're doing the ratios were a bit different. So if you scroll up, your width and height ratio for your put those back to what it was before. This dot size and run it again, and then we'll come back and change that in a minute. But yeah, so make it shorter and wider and so on, just to see how it. Yeah, so your height ratio is correct, right? Make it taller and then make it the other way so it's thin. Yeah. All right. So the ratios are off here. So, but we're getting closer. So your positions that you've got in your code, your hotspots are fractional units.
They're integers basically, the pixels where you should go on.
Right, but relative to the original image size.
Yes, relative to the original image size. Yes. So maybe we need to put rect here because this is
No. This is. Sorry, that should be the image size. Image size. Hey, wait, size. This dot size. Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. I go backwards. Yeah, it's rect. Yeah, I was gonna say rect. Yeah, it should be rect. Yeah, that should work now. We should not be having two variables called size. This is bad. That's better. Look at that. I don't know why they're slightly smaller by like a little digit or two there.
Yeah, I think it's just the hotspots are not correct, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's sizing and positioning correctly.
Looks
Um,
slick. Very nice.
There's doing these custom layouts is quite important, I think, for people to learn. So I do recommend for the audience to try some of this stuff out. It's not too difficult. I mean, obviously, this is a very particular use case, right? So I'm assuming, Raz, you want it so that you tap on one of these things and it does some interaction, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. This reminds me of, do you remember what was it called? HTML had do you remember we used to make websites? I'll come on, Randall, you know this one. Used to make websites and you wanted to make like hotspots of an image.
God, image maps.
Image maps.
Yes.
Now is it image maps? Yeah.
No, sorry. That's
in,
just no. You're sorry. You're making me have PTSD flashbacks.
Flashbacks.
Careful. You had to warn me before you brought those up. Okay. Yeah.
There is literally an image map. So I wonder if anyone's actually implemented a widget like this before. I want you to just try something here, Raz. I want to show you the power of why we do it this way. Can you go to that alignment class and do center right? So alignment.center right.
So that would be here.
Yeah. And then go to your scroll up and go to your so input size. See output size.
Output size.
Yeah. Do put dot after the edge. Can you do dot inflate? Is it or dot deflate? I think it is. Inflate. Try inflate. No. So do a rectangle. So do this offset dot. Just do this. Change size to offset dot 0. Ampersand. Size. Lowercase size. Sorry. And then wrap that in parentheses. And then at the end, you should be able to do inflate. I think it is. Yeah, inflate. Yeah, with a delta negative, say, I don't know, 50. Yeah, dot size. Yeah.
Math is cool.
Right. Right. So now that we try a bit more, do 100. Do 100. Instead of 15.
Is that instead in pixels? It must be in pixels, right?
Yes, it's in pixels, yeah. Well, dependent pixels, but still, yeah. So what we've now done is we actually haven't actually changed anything to do with layout code, right? What we've now just done is said, oh, I want you to size the image as if there's 100, padding around the outside. And then we then said, where do you want to align it? Center right. And now it's on the center right. No widgets involved. And it's just changed those two values. But what's really interesting about this is Raz can now take those two values, go put them as parameters to his painter or to his layout code. And now he can have that in his widget and say, oh, you want to align the content on any place within my widget? Great, you can do that. Specify the line as the parameter, right? You want to put padding on it so it's away from something. Yes, you can do that. Pass it in, In fact, if you pass in the edge and sets, you can then just do like apply padding to the size and it will just do that, right? And you've got this kind of capability to do these things, right? I just wanted to show that. So Raz, feel free to reset, but yeah.
And this is close to how the actual rendering objects are working under the things that we know as padding and alignment and stuff.
These are the functions they use, right? Like right. It's what we're using, right? So
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
You want to, yeah. Not everyone can brave the Simon. So Raz is one of the few.
Cool.
Was that okay, Raz? Sorry, I think that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, right? Bit different from our usual. There's we can do some coding if people want. I mean, has anyone got any? I think they want to.
Nobody's really been jumping forward with anything. So
otherwise, we can end early. I mean, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I've got a nurse
Um,
coming in an hour anyway, so I might as well get prepped for that.
Let's see if anyone speaks up. Otherwise, I'm going to see if I've got anything on my list here. I'm trying to find my Humpday coding list. I've got some
Yep.
coding ideas. Here it is. Some people recommended before some ideas, so I'm going to see if there's anything we can pick up in there that's not
Oh, wait,
too.
what does Lane want to see? Why does she say, you know what I want to see?
I don't know. Like,
Oh,
we lose context so
Lane?
quickly.
Yep. Lane, you're going to have to fill us in. Oh, WoW shopping. He wants you to finish the WoW thing.
Oh yeah. So if people don't know, let's see if I can bring this up on the stream. So, as part of the some of the over the last couple of years, as part of the dev camp, what's the word? Dev camps, I guess. That we've been doing as part of GDG London and Flutter London. We started off this notion of having an app that we could work around and show people how to do stuff with. So let me bring that up on the stream.
Such an ongoing project that has enough complexity that you can show off a lot of various things related to Flutter and front end, back end, all that stuff. How do you do layout? How do you do financial calculations? How do you have a shopping cart? How do you do drill down for detail pages? All the stuff that gets involved when you have a shopping app. And it's been quite fun watching y'all develop it. So
y'all.
I'm from the West Coast.
I know. I just don't hear that often.
Yeah. Well, I didn't start saying it until I went into the deep South for the first few times. Then I started picking it up, and I went, okay, I'm going to use that out over here in the West. And I say howdy when I say hello to somebody. It's almost always howdy. I don't know why. Again,
I just want the howdy partner.
Yeah. Well, I don't pull it all the way out to cowboy talk. I'm out here in the West, so got to respect the area.
Here he is. Here's it running, and we could actually do a proper login, I guess. So this is actually like a shopping app that you can browse the products on. It does, apparently it crashes really well. We think we got a bug. We got a bug. Oh no. Null check. Null check.
Null check on a null value. Man, those are bad.
So
programmer
let's
error.
have a look. Oh, I know what this was. Okay. So we actually did. So can I do this? Is the question. I may give me 1 second. We're gonna do some magic stuff here. Hang on. Let's do that. See if I can get this working here. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. I need to.
John's in the chat. John should get online now.
Debugging.
John should be on screen.
John, why are you not here, John? How dare you?
Yeah.
He's probably in a meeting and he's not paying attention to the meeting. He's paying attention to us. That's what I'm predicting.
That's probably correct.
I messed up my my drivers on my machine recently when I rebuilt my machine to a 99 and I screwed up my driver registry. Long story. Anyway, it means that currently my tablet does not want to connect over ADB over USB because of the way the drivers are working. So I'm messing things up, trying to rush. Hang on. That's what I'm doing. Developer options, all this fun stuff. Bear with. It's riveting, isn't it? It's riveting stuff. This is.
What's going on is we answered a lot of questions in the first half of the show. Then we just did some layout stuff that was really, really fun. And now we're going back to WoW shopping again to bring that project forward. So that's what's going on for those of you who just joined. If you just joined, hey, we started 2 hours ago. Come on. You're missing a whole bunch of stuff.
Missing all the good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, look who's sneaking in.
He is here. He is here. You mean you're
Yeah.
not in the meeting? You're not in the meeting?
I was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Good enough.
So I think I've got that working.
Trying to fix
Right.
your bugs in WoW.
Apparently, yeah. I think I need to explain why we have a bug first. So
Well,
we did, as part of the latest dev camp stuff, we did 2 things to the WoW shopping app, and one of them has caused this bug, and I'll explain how we got the bug, and I think we can then fix it. And it's not a difficult thing to do, but
cool.
I think it's worth it. So we added tablet support to the. He says, there we go. So fingers crossed this works.
Oh,
There it is.
and are there archives to the dev camp stuff for if we missed it?
Yes, sorry, yeah. For those that this code is all open source, and let me. We don't distribute the all the videos and stuff, not yet. We'll see what we can do, but you can get to the all the code here. Anyway, so as you can see here, this is the WoW shopping app in tablet form. So we
Ooh.
decided to support landscape and portrait tablet with a single set of layouts. So this is the same. This is the same sort of thing. And you know, categories, cart. Yeah, we got like we got this basic left navigation when you're in portrait. And I thought, well, when we open up a product, it'd be really cool for it to open up on the side like that. How cool is that?
Nice.
Gosh. And when you hit back, it goes away. So it comes out and goes away or whatever, right? Anyway, so in doing this, what I did was I introduced a new navigation system so that we can handle navigating in a page. And that's what this is all about. So when we hit the back button on a product, it does context mainstream go back. Well, funny enough, when it's on a phone, there's no main. You're not on the main screen
Right.
anymore. You're on a separate flow, separate what's the word? Tree, right? For the page, for the route. Sorry, I'll get there in a second.
Mhm.
So what's happening here is context.main screen is reporting null, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the exception that we're seeing in the log here. So we hit back, it's failing to find main screen state. And because it finds main screen state, that's where this null check error comes from. So
you just need to
question
check
is, yeah,
on navigation.
do a check. So we could actually do something else here. We could make this of nullable.
That's smart. Yeah.
I mean, we could make it nullable. We could also do something that's have it so that our instead of having the main screen state, make more of a mixin or an interface, and then have our top level of our routes encompass that, so that navigation can still be maintained across the entire package. And that's probably a nice and neater solution than doing it. But there's a quick hack, and I'll show you the quick hack. Obviously, in this case, we can make this nullable, right? It is nullable by default, but like again, it's like, do you want to have bangs everywhere in your code? Like now we have these errors, right? Because now it could be null, right? So all these places, now potentially are going to navigate incorrectly, right? So I think it's probably better to change the way that we actually deal with navigation. Instead of saying main screen, we do something else. So let's have a look here. So main screen is here. This is the top level of the application. So let's select. Hang on. Can I hot restart? No, because I made errors. All right. Well, anyway, there's on the actual app of the screen, on the main app, when you enter it up, there's oh, hang on, I do have designs, do I? I can't be bothered. Right. So there's a screen that you open the app on, and then there's the home screen, which is part of this tab navigation, and then there's tabs for each one. So for the tablet, it's like this. So there's main screen is the thing that contains the tab bar and the pages themselves. So as you can see, that's the thing that actually hosts that container. Right. So what we want to do is solve this. So first of all, if you want to run this, by the way, yourself, you need to start a server up. So in the server folder, you can just run the code in there. There's a little README, but yeah, you just run main dev, and that'll start it up. And then you pop your IP address. Again, explained in the README, I think somewhere. But pop your IP address in main dev, on your local IP address, local WAN IP address, Wi-Fi IP address. Sorry. And then you've got a local server running, serving products to the app. Right. Anyway, let's sort out this navigation. So main screen. Oh, we're in main screen. We have this go back navigation, open product, go to section. So instead of having main screen state, we make this, we put this back to being a private type. I like that. Let's keep that private. Right. Oops. And instead, what we want to have is maybe an interface. Yeah, interface. Interface class. That's what interface class of what main navigation. Sounds good, right? And this is the functions that we want to share, and that's what we're going to return, right? So instead of this, you return that basically, and this is going to implement it. So obviously there's no interface at the moment, but the point here is now the various functions that we use across the app, which is go to back, open product, and go to section, can now be abstracted out and provided a multiple of different ways. So if I do this, abstract. Yeah, there we go. So here's the interface with the three functions that we want to use across the application. And we want a way of providing this main navigation to routes and have that go back to the main screen to handle that navigation, perhaps, right? So let's update our getters here and make this main nav. And the way that we actually going to get this is going to be slightly different. So we'll get there in a second. So let's take this extension out of here. We'll move this around a little bit, make it a bit cleaner. So let's take out that main navigation. We need to have some supporting stuff around it as well. Okay, so our main screen is going to implement main navigation, and these are going to be overrides now. And we want to connect up the routes with this. So when we start a navigation, say opening up a product here, we do navigator of context push. So let's go see what other navigators do we have around. I think it's all in this one place now. Yeah, okay, so cart page has gone to the checkout. So I had to sort that out separately. We could actually move that into this main navigation. That might be nice. But for the moment, it's actually just open product. So in this situation, we want the product page to, the route of the product page to know about this main navigation interface. So what we're going to do, I mean, or the other one is it can provide its own. Let's have a look. So we've got, what was the main navigation again? It was go back. Yeah. So on a route, we wanted to pop the route, open product. We can have it push another route, or potentially just go back to the same logic that we already had. Go to section. Well, we want to pop the route and go to the section. So we still want to call these functions, though. So I think what I would suggest that we do is we're going to go to our product page route. And we have, so we have a page route builder, custom page route builder. We want to extend this a little bit. So let's go back to our main screen. So we've got a lot open here. Let's close other tabs and tighten this up. Right. So what I'm looking to do is create a widget that will provide a main navigation down the tree. So this is called this main nav host, right? Let's call it main nav. I don't know why I called it main navigation. Main nav host, and its only job right now is to have a way of accessing this interface, right? So we'll say main navigation. I'm hearing someone's alerts, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's me. Let me mute him.
So app required. Oh God, I'm old. Right. Right. Main navigation.
Flashback 3 years already. Whoosh.
And then this is just child. So this is can we do this another way? We can actually do this as stateless, I think. Let's have a look. And then we want a final. Give us a widget child. Right, that's better. So this is literally just holding on to a value, right? But that's the point. So now if we go back to our main screen, the way we'd access this value is with this static function. I'm going to move that into main navigation here. And this is going to say main navigation of context. It's going to find a main nav host and return the main navigation that it holds, right? Widget of type, I'm sorry. Hey, why you do this? The function coming on? Wait. Oh, because of that. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, autofill. Autofill got me. I blame autofill. Right. So the point here is now wherever we are in the code, we can do main navigation of instead of main state, because obviously that was a widget. So let's go back to our places where we now have errors. So let's go fix those up. So we've got go to section. So this is main nav go to section, and this is an extension. So we can actually take this extension and bring that over into our main navigation as well. And this is an extension on context, build context, main navigation extension, main navigation, main nav, and it's main navigation of context. We could actually make that private, actually, saying that. That's just a bit nicer. So now with that, let's go have a look. Context main nav, yeah, we need to import in. Done. Main nav selected. Well, that's interesting because you should not be accessing that. So this tablet layout wants to access private members of main state. Yeah, we shouldn't have been doing that. So let's see, how can we pass this down? Where's our tablet layout here? So we'll just pass down the selected item.
It's interesting how often refactorings can reveal technical debt that you didn't know you had.
Yep.
I was saying this earlier in the chat when we were talking about senior Flutter developers, that you want someone who hasn't had the same 1 year of experience 5 times over. You want somebody who's done 5 years of different things.
Mm-hmm.
But also you want people who have failed sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't learn. That was the old adage: experience is what you get when you don't get what you wanted. So the only way to really gain experience is to trial by fire from time to time, where you have to have turned something around that was headed in the wrong direction, or that you broke, or that you incurred technical debt and now you have to clean it up, because that will give you less likelihood of falling off the straight and narrow when you're doing the next project.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see now. So this is context. Yeah, this is just import. So, okay. After we've done all of that, so we now have a way of getting to the main nav, and all I've done there is subbed out all the previous stuff that we had, and now we've made it into a thing called main navigation, right? And we've given it an interface, right? But to actually get to this, we need these main nav hosts in our layouts. So in the main screen, even though it is itself the main navigation, we're going to need to have a widget that wraps this, right? So we wrap our layout, and in here, main navigation, this, right? Now, this the interface that we had for main navigation now passed down the tree. That can be accessed. And then when it comes to the route itself, it's the same thing. We want to have a in our page builder here, we actually want to, that's interesting. This is, again, more technical debt. Okay, let's fix this. Transition builder is what we should be using for the transition, and we're not. So that's, again, another little it's not a big deal, but it is slightly more. I mean, there's lots of the difference here, Lane, is quite interesting. The difference is when you're doing, like, you have full control, right? So we can do it however we want, and we can architect it how we want. Yeah. Where, you know, when you start dealing with activities and doing a bunch of, you're using the system to essentially provide that, and it becomes a lot more cumbersome, to be honest, I think.
And it's probably also versioned too, so you have to key it towards, you know, version 35 of the OS did it one way and version 36 did it another way. You have to
now you give me flashbacks.
Yep.
Wait, what happened here? Yeah, widget child.
Well, we've already got a little bit of that with the Will Pop Scope stuff that just got recently released. So
yeah. Right. So okay. So sorry, I basically just pulled out the transition stuff that we're doing into a transition build and passed the child across, just so it's out the way, and we can concentrate on this. So when our route gets built, it builds a page route builder, and for the product page itself, we're going to wrap that in a main nav host. Now we could do this at not at this like. I'm actually going to show you a way of actually tying this up again and take this one level greater. But I think, yeah, that's a bit more complicated. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So here, now we've got a question, right? What is the main navigation for the pop-up, right? So as I said earlier, when we wanted to go back, we actually want to pop the route first, right? Or I don't know, do something, right? So in this case, if we go to let's just put something above here for a second. We'll come back and tighten this up again. So a bit more room. So we can make a class and call it product page navigation. We'll make this lowercase, extends main navigation.
Good point, Lane.
Implement. There should be implements, really, shouldn't it? And I'm going to keep these in the same order, even though they're not alphabetical. Async that. Do all that. And let's do. Oops. So there should be implements as well. That's why it's complaining. Right. So when we want to go to, okay, so now what is that implementation for a page, right? So on a page, we just do navigator of context pop, right? Because in this case, we're on the route, and this context is going to be the route context. So that's going to pop that. When we want to open a product, so this is interesting. So we've got two options. We can just go push a new route, or we can send our request to open up a product screen back to the main screen. It can then do some animation and some other things and then show the product, right? It also means that we don't double up on that code. So in this situation, we can we need to pass in our main navigation. So main navigation. And we'll add that to our former parameters, blah, blah, blah. Might have it named. All right.
Oh, we've got another question. We've got a question here. Wouldn't it be safer to inject the navigation methods instead of the build context?
Safer in what way? I will say that it has a bad code smell when you see build context like this. The other hand, that this is just a anonymous class that provides glue logic, and it's only built and maintained during the build. So that's why I can guarantee that's not a problem in terms of safety. So the idea here being that we're going to provide this, I want to call it product page navigation. There is a slight syntactic difference to the two, and we'll go through that in a second. But yeah, no, we can explore what you're talking about and change it if you want, just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Cool.
Right, so hang on. What do we want to do with this? Do we want to make it required? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so back to our little navigation here. So when we open up a product, we want to go to, we want to pop the current one. So we actually want to say go back. And then once that's taken place, I think that's asynchronous. Then we can then go main product, main navigation, open item. What else can we do here? Go to section, same thing. If we get asked to go to a section whilst we're in a product screen, well, then we want to leave the product screen and then go to that section on the main navigation, right? All right, so now we've done that piece of glue logic. Come back to the main screen, pass over the main navigator. This. Restart. Let's clear our log. Log in.
Oh, there it is.
Sorry. Yeah, and where was I? Yeah, main navigation. Let's try this. We go into product, go back. Hey, it works.
Yay!
Nice.
Null crash. All that work for just
Alright.
fixing a null.
Well, it wasn't that, but this was about more about this is the thing. Like
Well-
there's a quick way that we could have just done a null check and gone, oh, if it's null, navigate to of pop, right? And that would have solved that null check bug. But
Yeah.
what it wouldn't have done is given us a pattern that now works across the application, right?
Yeah.
And now we can extend this navigation with all the other types of navigation that we want to do, right?
And do we still work in tablet mode?
Yeah, let's go test that, right? It should do.
Mm.
Should.
It should. Should.
Should.
Oh yeah, tablet's gone to sleep. And tap on a product and hit back. Yay.
Hey.
So this also works in portrait as well. If I have it unlocked. There's the auto rotate. There we go. So now if I rotate the tablet, see that?
Yep.
So this actually has like a different type of layout now, and we actually have. Sorry, I know it's a bit. Oh, our face is in the way. Let's get our faces out of the way. There you go. So what we actually have now is you see at the bottom of the screen, we actually have names on the categories on the tabs.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go through the tabs and things like you can have padding. These are off because reasons. Let me remove those.
What's the navigation like for going to products here when it's landscape or when it's portrait?
So these don't actually, we only actually link these up, but we could link these up now actually. Why not? Shopping cart, I think, as well. So if we add something to the shopping cart, well, that's interesting. I have broken something, obviously. Oh, that's interesting. Hang on, let me just check something. Oh, wish list. I was at buy now doesn't actually do anything. That's what that does. So buy now has never been hooked up to the cart, and neither has the items on the wish list screen. But we have this pop up at the bottom saying 1 items, right? So if we add more, there we go, 2, 3, 4. Very expensive shoes, apparently.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
And we can't tap to go to a product on this screen either. So we could actually hook that up now. And then if I go to landscape, we still keep our state, and we still have our pop up there. That's another. I just found another interesting bug there. So when we add to the shopping cart, let's go home screen and buy some of these. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, maybe not. I don't know. It pops up where it is, and I kind of feel that's in the way. But I thought I made it pop up to the right, but maybe I didn't. Well, I don't know. This is cool. So yeah, I think there's obviously like it's not been designed for tablet, right? So we're kind of like going, okay, we can add padding to make it look a bit better, and we could actually make a lot more to this. I think let's go and let's go back. Pop that down. Let's go back. Bring us back up here. There we go. So again, the phone. If we go to the phone one, as you can see, okay, get rid of our faces again. Sorry. As you can see on the phone one, there's no titles on the tabs, for example. That's all in the code base right now. I will make sure that's pushed today, and so you can all see that.
Cool.
Right. So the question here is, shall we make some of those things work and link some of these bits up? I don't see why we wouldn't. Right. So if you open up a product like this, if I'm on the wish list screen and I tap on the product, we want it to open up like this, right, on the tablet. So it should be possible, right? Now we've got this main navigation business in.
Yeah.
We get rid of all of this.
Should be pretty straightforward at this point, right?
Go to, yeah, hopefully.
Should be.
Should be.
Here we go. Look, fix me. Navigate to product details. Exactly. So that should just be context.
Let's just pull out ChatGPT and ask it how to fix that.
Yeah.
Open product item. There you go. Save.
Can't be that simple. It can't be that simple.
Sure.
Why not? Let's do both.
Simon made it that simple.
And tap on it. Yeah.
Oh.
Tap on it. Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
And then we go to this one over here, the phone one, and wish list, which I've messed up the state on. That's why I think I need to look at that. But yeah, there you go. Open it up. Open it up. There you go.
Wow.
So now the shopping cart, we can do the same thing. Let's have it. So we tap on a shopping cart item. It takes you to the product details.
Do you think there'll be a fix me there?
I think there is. I think there is.
Go look. You just look. That's it. Just go through the whole code base and look for every fix me now. And fix me.
Now these are delivery address stuff. Simple item view. Here we go. Item. Do we have a fix me? Save myself. No.
No.
This is, however, the product item, and here is the sliver. So here's the product image. Do we want the image, or do you think the whole item should be tappable?
Well, if you do the whole item,
how will it know it's not the plus minus thing?
Right, that's what I was.
Oh no, it knows that. That already knows that. Yeah, because this will take precedence because it's smaller. So we could wrap the row. Let's have a look. Let's wrap the row in a inkwell, and
I should just be able to wave my hand towards the item and have it selected. It should do visual
right, yeah, like where are you looking?
3D hand.
Some voice recognition.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at that shoe and I say open, it should open the shoe.
Yes. It should look for a smile on my face, and if it sees that, open up the item that I'm looking at right at the moment. With eye position detection and smile.
Okay, so we have a little something going on here that we should
someday. I bet the Apple Vision can do that. The Apple
so
Vision
if I tap, look, padding. There's padding around the outside. Right? We want to include that padding in the tap region. And also, the photo obviously doesn't paint right at the moment, so we need to fix that. So first of all, we're using sliver padding. If we move that into padding itself, we can do it without doing this, but this just makes sense in what we're doing right now. Move that inside of the sliver rather than outside the sliver, he says. Why don't you just let me remove the widget? That would be really helpful. Watch this. Child. Remove. Plugin bugs. Right, anyway. So that doesn't really make any much difference at the moment, but it does mean that we can start thinking about where we want to tap. I don't think tapping on the prices or anything else should take you into the product. It doesn't feel right. So we'll leave the bottom padding could actually be moved into the column. Let's do vertical margin 12. That's going to replace my bottom padding. And then the horizontal padding, which is now on everything, we want to move into two separate areas here. So we're going to remove this padding now. We'll keep the horizontal padding, but remove it from here at the top level. So if I run it now, it looks horrible. But now we have a touch area that goes all across the width. And then if we go to below, here's our column for the bottom piece. So I'm going to wrap this in a padding. So now the numbers are going to have padding on them. Right, there you go. The bottom section as it was before. And then we want to move the padding on the inside of our inkwell for the top half, right? Do that. So now it's back to where it was, but now the touch area represents the outside, right? Now we've got to do the verticals. So somehow we have this vertical margin here. Let's remove it from there. Wrap this in a column. Main axis size min. Now the touch area is encompassing that. And then we can do the same thing on the 8 here at the bottom. Pop that in there. And now we have full touch area, which feels a lot nicer in terms of how you look at it and use it. It does note now that the back of our input control is not white. So I think we need to, that's the, sorry, the what you call it? Brain. Where is it? It's down here somewhere. The quantity selector. If I can find cart quantity selector, that's the one. So this is missing a background color of white on the material. Type transparency. I feel like there must have been a reason for that. I'm not sure why. Right. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to see if we break something. Well, let's do colors. Is it an app white? Oh, colors not white. Okay, so tap. There we go. That stays white. This is just better to indicate that this is actually a different thing, right? We still get our touch targets. That's nice. Now, let's make it so it opens up the item when we tap on it. So that again, context dot main nav dot open product item, and our product item. So this is cart item that has the product inside it. There you go. All right, let's try that. Tap on it, and it opens it up.
Boom.
Tap on this one. Yeah. And if we go open up the tablet, let's hot restart the tablet. And what was it? It was cart, wasn't it? So let's go in here, add some of these to the cart. Add this one, add to cart, and hide that. And then if we go to the cart, oh, these are a bit big. We should probably change that. But anyway, tap on that. There it is. Tap on this one. There it is. So all that works. And if I'm already on one and tap on it, yeah, just changes.
Cool.
So, yeah. Let's, what was the other bit of that? Oh, yeah, that was it. If we're in the shopping cart, the image, I feel like the touch should go over the image, not the other way around, right?
Oh yeah, the highlight.
You
mean?
So this we actually implemented this ink enabled, but I guess it's set to false here for a reason. Let's have a look. Why would that be set to false? Oh, I'm really hot reloading on the wrong device. That's what happens with 2 devices. Oh, what have I done? I bought something. Because okay, now I know what's going on. Okay, so this is an interesting problem to have. Let's set that back and disable those. Right. So let me go back. So I know what's going on there. Sorry. So basically, the product image I've got is what is sizing this area here. It's not. I haven't guaranteed it's going to be square. And when you're in ink, it doesn't. When ink paints to the surface on it, does not relate to layout. So the two things don't lay out the same. And ink doesn't actually provide anything to layout, right? So there's a couple of ways we can do this. Obviously, we could run aspect ratio of 1.0 and just say they're always square on the screen, right? That's one way of dealing with this, right? So we wrap with aspect ratio 1.0, ink enabled true, and log in and go to the shopping cart. And there you go. Now I'm going to touch. The touch area covers the, very subtle, right? But it covers the image, right? So you know what you're tapping on. But now obviously these are forced to square. The other way of this is if my product image widget knew the image details up front, so product image itself, we only have URLs for photos. It's just a list of URLs. ideally this should be a photo model. And if it's a photo model, then we can have width and height attached to a photo. Knowing width and height up front with all your images is very important, because again, it means you have the aspect ratio, so you can lay things out before you've downloaded the image. But anyway, I think that's enough to be getting on with in regards to that. What else? What are the other places?
Lane's got another question here. What would be the best way to show a different configuration of the detail screen? Like when you go from nav to detail from cart, it still shows the add to cart button. That'd be kind of interesting.
When you nav to details from cart, it still shows add to cart button. Oh, this, yes, it should do. Oh, you want it to like have different details, like what? Change quantity? What was your thoughts, Lane?
He has to speak more.
I mean, the thing is, you've got global state. You just access the cart and go, oh, I've already got this. Show a different widget.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't think there's much more to it than that.
Oh, here.
Yeah, like a remove from cart when it's already in the cart, or navigating when it's already navigating from cart, etc. Yeah. So I mean, right now we can do that, right? So let's do it. I like that. It wasn't in the original designs, but I don't see a reason why we couldn't do that. So product details. Here's our product details screen.
It wasn't in the MVP, but it could be in release 2.
Yeah,
exactly, right. Let's pop this navigation thing down. I'll pop it. Don't want it down there. No. I went after the main section, but before the header. There you go. So, all right. So this is the product detail screen. I did actually say I wanted to show you about this page route, which we can also look at in a second. But it was, I don't remember what it is. Size selector, info tile. Do we have a cart section? This must be similar items. Let's go have a look. I don't even remember what's in there. Oh, so that must be in the size selector. Yeah, add to cart. Okay, so, well, first of all, this is how we add to cart. So let's go to our wish list page, which was the one I was just on. And there's an add to cart in here. Implement buy now. There you go.
Would you want, so I don't know that you'd want to remove it though, right? Because what happens if I've added, say, size 7 to my cart, and then I come back here and I want to add a different size?
Oh, sure, but then that would be what's supposed to happen here is see the size selection. It shouldn't say add to cart until you've selected a size. I just haven't implemented the options.
Oh,
right?
sure,
so
that way, yeah.
An option is just a variation of a product, right?
Yeah. I was getting more at the suggestion was that when it's in the cart, having it say add to cart is kind of redundant because it's already in the cart. But that only applies if there's not an option for different sizes or something else.
I was actually assuming that it's let me go back here. I was actually assuming that it would always be add to cart would always be there. It just allows remove from cart because there's something in the cart, right? Let's have a look here. So let me just sort this out here, this buy now, because it's annoying me. So we got wish list items and we have a selected set of items, I think. Yes. So what we can do now is up here, say void buy now. Oops. Buy now. Oh, sorry, a bit further down. Yeah. Buy now. And that can go through the selected items and go add to cart, right? So for item in selected items, add to cart. Does that work? Item dot product, possibly. Okay, what's an item then? Oh, is that the IDs? Wish list items. All IDs.
Product items.
Yeah, well, it's a selected item. So what we actually need to do is filter is selected. Yeah. So we need to filter the items to just the ones that have the matching ID. So we could do that quite simply. So we'll say all, should we say selected items. That's going to be the wish list items where the element's ID is contained within the selected items list, right?
Yep.
Element ID. To list. All right. And then this is really this should really be selected item IDs. Let's be clear about that. Selected items IDs. Apostrophes. Right, anyway, buy now. Right, so if you press the buy now button, we'll have it run that function. Let's, I did a hot restart, but sure, same thing. We don't have persisted tokens, login tokens, and that's why it keeps coming to login. We never added that to the API yet, but we could add that. So, all right, so now if we go back to wish list, it's also having a problem loading the wish list right now. Something to do with the state of the wish list, because as soon as I do this, it magics it up. Anyway, so if I tap on this one, hit buy now, there you go. 6 items in cart. So if I remove these,
it's lazy loading, just a little too lazy.
Buy now, buy now. It could be that it's not actually going to the API correctly. So we do 2 of those, 1 of those. There's 3, 2 of those, 1 of those. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
And the thing is, remove does work the second time. I think this is, yeah, there's obviously something weird going on with the state there. I'll have to have a look at another point. I'm not going to go hunting for things right now. In fact, if you want to fix it, submit PR, I'll be more than welcome. Right, let's have a look. Okay, where were we at? We wanted to do product page. That was it. So if I go to a product, and we're saying if it's already in the cart, so that's in the cart right now, this should show remove from cart, right? Or something like that, right? So here is the bit where I have add to cart and app button. So what we could do is wrap this in a builder first of all. Then we can go cart item count, I guess. And we have a cart repo. Access for the context, I forget. Yeah. And then we want to get the count. So current cart items dot to list to length. What I'm doing. There we go. Right. So that will give us the cart count. It's not listening to it. So if it does get changed and you come back, it's not going to rebuild. So we probably want to make this a bit more lively, right? So if we made this into a stream builder, right? Let's just wrap the stream builder here. And then this is an integer, right? We could then have the initial value being this length. Oops. And then the stream be the stream of cart items total. Cart items mapped to, I guess this is items dot length. There you go. So now we've got a stream of the number of items in the cart, right? So now snapshot here is going to be a integer of the total items, right? Sorry, the number of items. So cart item count is snapshot dot required data, because we're always going to guarantee data because if our initial data is not null. Right, let's take this app button now. Okay, so we'll wrap this in a row with a expanded around it. And and we have add to cart, and we say if cart item count is greater than 0. This is not actually correct, but we'll come back to this in a second. Then we'll add another expanded with remove from cart. Yeah, remove from cart. And then what's the item ID? So item.id. So we actually we only wanted to show remove from cart if this item's in the cart, right? So I actually had this wrong. So this should be a filter on the number of items. Sorry, on the on this item in the cart.
Yeah,
right?
that item. Yeah.
So there's a couple of different ways of doing this. One is we can just filter it, right? So we can say this map, where, say, we'll do this really stupid, and then I'll show you a better way. So element ID is equal to item.id dot length, right? Something like that.
Or just add a check in the cart repo.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah,
Teaching.
I figured that's where you're going next.
So product ID, there we go. And the same thing here for the stream, right? So we could say map, and it could be the same condition on this, right? So slightly long-winded in here, but we can tidy this up later. Right, I'm getting rid of it anyway. Let me minimize that. Get a bit more space. Right, so in this situation now we've got a item count, and it's for this particular item now because we do the filtering. So if I restart and we go into the cart, it's definitely not loading the state correctly. Anyway, so here is the cart, the shoes. So if I go back to the screen, go to this has got add to cart, press add to cart, remove the cart pops up, remove from cart, it disappears. Obviously that button is not how we want it, but yeah, we're getting there. So if we do add this item, we do add this widget, then we're also going to want to put some padding in there. So we can do that by using the expand, sorry, what's it called? Expand. Spread operator. Horizontal margin. Let's see, what about 12?
I'm going
So
to
these
have
are
to
just.
out. I've got to prepare for my next meeting.
Oh, no worries. Well, I think we'll be wrapping up in a second anyway, but thanks for coming around.
I'll be back.
So horizontal margin 12. Yeah, this is size boxes. This is a shortcut for that. Those that haven't seen what we've done before. Remove from cart. Add to cart. I really don't like. So if you want these the same height, I really don't like the way it's this width, but I think that's just.
Oh, because it's wrapping. Yeah,
they are the same. They are the same font. I mean, we also equally we don't want it to cut the string. This is just how big it's going to be. So if it is going to wrap, so you can imagine like someone's got the if you've got the font size of a user set up really high, this is the type of thing that will happen. You have to deal with it. So in this situation, we're going to take our row and wrap it in a intrinsic height, and then the cross-axis alignment on the row gets set to stretch. This is saying stretch each of those buttons to be the height of the row, and the row is going to be the height of all the items. This is two complete opposite constraints, but they apply really well, and this is how you solve it. If you hit save now, there you go. Now the two buttons are going to be exactly the same height, and if I remove one, it doesn't affect the other, right?
Yep.
So that's how you deal with that situation. All right. So anyway, so that's working here. So it also means if I go over into the shoes, we should have remove from cart. There you go. So not a great kind of experience there. The layout. You could also do some animations between the two states. There's maybe hiding one rather, so it's always only takes up half the screen. So maybe it's a less jarring transition, or put one above the other. Or the other way of actually dealing with this, which might be better in this situation, is maybe have a different button style. So if I do outline button here, I'm kind of curious. Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting there to be that much difference between the highlight and the outline, but it fits on the screen now, which I'm guessing the highlight
padding.
button.
Yeah, the padding must be
Yeah,
different.
let's have a look. Let's have a look. I must have done something like that. Let's have a look. I'm not seeing it.
Well, so you've got
That's really interesting. Hang on a minute. Where button style? Where's that being used? Here, app style outline. Border all. Yeah, but without border, that wouldn't make any difference. Highlighted, gradient in the background doesn't make a difference to layout. App styles, text style. Sorry.
text is different.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
So the text is slightly larger on a highlighted button. I didn't even notice that. You know what? I would probably, don't know. Would it be better to have one size fits all? I mean, the thing is, it's going to wrap at some point on some type of device, and this is what you need to, make up your mind when it comes to these things. Yeah, but 18 is like, I can't even tell the left one is actually larger than the right one.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
It's so close that.
No, it can't be. Is that reloading? It must be. 16.
Well, make one a lot bigger and see.
18. Yes, there you go. That definitely changed size. But yeah, it's not a very big difference. Anyway, there wasn't actually the reason why I did this. I was thinking there's another way of doing this, which is get rid of the label altogether. And then I wonder if I can do like icon.
Do an icon, yeah.
Icon asset. Oh, this is because we have our own custom icon stuff. So where is it? Assets dot. We have an icon remove, icon minus. We have a trash. We had a trash can somewhere, didn't we? For I guess that's remove.
Yeah, because you're using it on your plus minus buttons.
Let's try it. Assets dot icon remove. Let's see. Right, it's white.
Yeah,
it is there, but it's white. So highlight. Let's add highlight to that and see what. Okay, so we could then get rid of the expanded.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't know if it's obvious that that's. I mean, it's next to the add to cart, so it's kind of makes sense, but.
Remove from cart. This is remove from cart, or even better, you can say remove item dot title from cart. That's what I want. Believe it, that's what I want. And then we're going to add another flag. Show label false. Equal that to true. And then, where am I? Label. Here we go.
Yep.
So, if show label, right? We add our expanded label. Good. Now, here's the key. What I also want to do to my custom button here is, does this supply it, or do I have to do it myself? Let's look. Yeah, let's just wrap this in tooltip. With a tooltip. What's it? It's a label. Message. Here's the label. So now, if you've got your delete and if you long press on it, it tells you remove ultra boost from the cart. So that's just a nice way of giving the extra bit of context. Right. I think I'll push the code and go from there. Is there any more? Is there any more points here?
No, not really.
Hang on, to access items dot. To access this. Sorry, Marco. Hang on. I like your context, but what's the reason for using context to access items? I'm not sure I'm following what you're.
Yeah, I don't know
what you mean by that. Sorry, if you can elaborate a little bit more, maybe I can follow it. I mean, we're not using access any product items or anything like that. I mean, I'm trying to think of a particular place that we're just doing it. I mean, we use context to access our state, and then the state represents whatever we're not. I mean, context.cart repo. Yeah. I mean, that's why. I mean, you said, but what's your reason? That's it, to access the state. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, from your UI, you've got two ways of accessing. Remember, from your UI, you've got two ways of accessing your state and in your project, right? You've got through your context, which is your global essentially your reference to the hierarchy, to the tree, where you inject that state in some way into the tree, or you're accessing it from a global static variable, right? Or some global variable where you're and then those have a problem because you can't override them, you can't easily test them, right? So this is the best way. Now, if you're using, let's say you're using Riverpod, it does the same thing. It goes up, its reference object will go up the tree, it'll find the Riverpod's what's it called? No, not River, provider scope.
Yeah.
And then that provider scope is what's hosting essentially all the state for Riverpod, right? For what you're trying to access. And there's no real difference. It's all the same.
Yep.
I want to do one. I think we'll do one last thing, which I said I was going to do, which is just around this. Is it responsive when the user increases the font size and display size? Yes. There you go. We can. I'm not going to do it right now because we're already way off base, right? And we need to start wrapping up in a second. So I want to just do one last thing in here. We were talking about this filter, weren't we? Let's tidy up this filter briefly. So I wouldn't do it like this. This is really, really janky, right?
Yeah.
So one way of doing this, which is slightly better, is you could provide a what's called a predicate. So a slightly nicer way of doing this is this condition here, and getting the length could be a function or a predicate in itself. So it's very similar to what we're actually doing in here, like cart item for product. Oh, look, I've already got one. That finds it. Sure, it's not exactly the same thing. So, but that's great. So what was that? We want to get count, didn't we? So this is going to return none.
Yeah, we want the count. How many times that item is in the cart.
So let's do this. Let's do count cart item, right? Count cart item for product, right? And a product item. So that's pretty straightforward. That is literally going to take what we've done before and move it into here. So this puts it at the right place, right? In terms of where the axis is, right? To do the right stuff. We can then make a function that matches on the ID, perhaps. So we can have multiple predicates that do the same thing. I don't think we need to go that far for just a single line, but if it's more complicated, maybe. Now we can do a stream of int and say stream count cart item for product. It's been a bit long, but I'm sure. Product item. And this can return. There's a couple of ways of actually doing this. There's a couple of a couple of various ways. So let's do this. And so I could just do that and return. Which has just moved it. Essentially, we just moved it into this function, right? But it would work. And now we can take these two functions and put them out here, which is slightly more.
Well, the nice thing is moving them out, and now you can use them anywhere. You don't have to recreate the same code in different places if you wanted the same functionality.
Item, yeah. And there's another slight benefit to this as well. Let's do stream count for product item. So that looks way better right now in terms of readability. You know exactly what it's doing. And then over here, there's an interesting way you can do this. So you can do like a async star, and then you can also do a yield star. There might be reasons for doing this. I don't recommend it at this point, but if there's ever an error being thrown, you actually get this function in the stack trace. If you don't do that, this function is gone from stack trace because this function is already completed, right? Yep. So this function runs and returns this. So if there's an error in the stream, this isn't part of that. So just to be aware of that, that can happen. So let's see. Can I tidy that up a little bit? Maybe. Don't think there's much. So here it is. So this where length items, right? This is something that we could do. So we could say int count item in cart, right? Maybe something internally count item, right? In list, and have a list of cart items, product item. Again, this is maybe going a bit too far, but I just want to show you some of the stuff. So this might be taking essentially this line on the inside, returning this, right? This becomes the mapper. It says, needs a little bit of a grooming there, but there you go, right? And then up here on the current cart items, it's the same thing. You can reuse that same logic, right? So that also can be a nice way of sort of tidying that up. These all need documenting, but anyway. So now we've got these two functions. This all works nicely. That's one sort of one tidy up. So if we restart it, let's just validate that quickly. Go into that thing, delete, add, delete. Yeah. add, delete, add, delete. Add. So this is what I was going to say, that we could actually have this button stay there but be disabled, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so jarring. And actually, let's just do that briefly just to kind of emphasize that point, shall we? So that's always going to stay there. And then if it's greater than 0, then we're going to have this, otherwise null. And save that. Yeah, so that is actually disabled, but we don't have a disabled state on it. So now this gets, we'll just wait one little thing here. I guess we need a, gray, light gray, divided gray.
Well, you have an outline button and a highlighted button.
Oh,
why don't you
think?
Oh,
yeah. I think the other one here is say on pressed does not equal null. Then probably should do like a proper state, but hang on, do that, and then where's the border? If it's this, if let's. I think maybe this is a bit much now. So let's do is equal to this. Way too many. There we go. Right, move that over. Come on. There we go. So if it's this or null, right? There you go. Oh, that's kind of annoying, right? So the icon. Nothing's ever simple. We can actually change the color of the icon. So let's improve that again. Let's do that. So if it's on pressed is equal to null, then it's at theme dot. Have we got gray color or something? White color, white icon.
App color. Well, that would be.
Yeah, let's just do colors gray for a second or null and see how that looks. So add to, remove. Maybe it should be a gray border.
Yeah. Well, then you're getting into this spot where should you have a disabled button style?
I'm telling you, as much as I can do all this, I don't like this at all. Oops, too far. Too far. Yeah, let's not worry about that. And we're gonna leave it back to hidden. But you get the idea. I think I'd rather put some proper styling system in place with dates before I start doing that, because that's gonna get it already gets messy and it's already gonna get messier. So we'll just deal with that. All right. I think right, I think that's it. I think we'll wrap it up. Let's do some final remarks here. Let's see what we've got going on in the chat. Is it responsive? Yes. It should create a web view app and then show a Flutter web. You mean like make a website that is out of this? Yeah, you could do that. In fact, there's no reason why this whole thing won't work on Flutter web.
Right. Yeah, probably.
The way it's been built, there's nothing in there that's Android specific. Sorry, it was on Tizen. Oh, I think he's coming back to the Tizen question from earlier. You must have missed that.
Yeah.
Create a web view app and then show it on Flutter web. I can return back in 166 hours next week, and you can ask your question again with more details, or provide code or something else. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Hopefully you learned something and was interesting. And thank you, John, for joining us.
Yeah.
And
hopefully next week. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you all same time, same place next week. Bye.
Good. See you.